What if the secret behind Il Volo's worldwide success is not only emotional performance or vocal talent, but geometry itself? What if the human brain responds to their harmonies the same way it responds to the perfect balance of a Renaissance cathedral or the symmetrical beauty of classical architecture? Beneath every soaring crescendo and cinematic harmony may exist something far more ancient and universal, a hidden mathematical structure that the human mind instinctively recognizes as order, balance, and beauty. Welcome back to Il Volo Space, the channel where music, science, architecture, emotion, and cinematic storytelling collide. If you're fascinated by the hidden mathematics of music, the psychological power of harmony, and the timeless artistry of Il Volo, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and join our growing global community of music lovers, thinkers, and cultural explorers. For centuries, architects, composers, mathematicians, and philosophers searched for the formulas behind human aesthetic attraction. Why do certain buildings inspire awe the moment we step inside them? Why do some sounds create immediate emotional peace, while others feel unstable or chaotic? Across both architecture and music, one principle repeatedly appears: symmetry. Symmetry creates psychological equilibrium. The human brain is naturally drawn toward patterns that feel balanced and proportionate. From the structure of ancient temples to the layout of Renaissance basilicas, civilizations throughout history discovered that certain mathematical relationships trigger subconscious emotional responses. One of the most famous examples is the golden ratio, a proportional relationship appearing throughout art, architecture, nature, and music that humans consistently perceive as harmonious and aesthetically satisfying. Now imagine applying that same principle not to stone, marble, or geometry, but to the human voice. That is where Il Volo becomes fascinating. The trio's signature three-part harmonies often create the sensation of architectural space rather than simple melody. Their sound feels enormous, immersive, almost physical. Audiences frequently describe their performances as cathedral-like, cinematic, or spiritually overwhelming. This reaction may not be accidental. Their harmonies appear to mirror the same proportional balance found in classical architectural design. At the center of this phenomenon lies the invisible mathematics of vocal spacing. Each member of Il Volo contributes a distinct vocal texture, occupying different frequency ranges. When combined, these voices create layered harmonic structures that behave similarly to architectural support systems. One voice anchors the foundation, another expands the harmonic body, and another rises toward emotional climax. Together, they generate a balanced sonic framework remarkably similar to how arches, columns, and domes distribute physical tension inside cathedrals. The comparison becomes even more striking when analyzing the trio visually during live performances. Their stage positioning often forms a symmetrical triangular arrangement. This is not simply aesthetic staging. Triangular symmetry has historically represented structural stability across architecture, engineering, and sacred design. Cathedrals frequently use triangular geometry because it distributes weight evenly and creates psychological impressions of harmony and order. Il Volo unintentionally, or perhaps strategically, recreates this effect sonically and visually at the same time. The result is what could be described as a sonic dome. Inside Renaissance basilicas, vaulted ceilings are designed to reflect and amplify sound evenly throughout the structure. The architecture creates natural resonance that surrounds listeners emotionally and physically. Similarly, when Il Volo performs together, their voices interact to create overlapping resonance fields that produce a sensation of sonic immersion. The audience does not simply hear the harmonies, they feel enveloped by them. This experience is deeply connected to physics. Every human voice produces sound waves measured in frequencies. When multiple voices sing together, those frequencies interact through interference patterns, reinforcement cycles, and resonance synchronization. If the frequencies align properly, they create constructive resonance, meaning the sound waves amplify each other rather than clash. This is one reason why certain harmonies feel emotionally perfect. In Il Volo's case, their vocal tones frequently align in ways that minimize harsh frequency conflict while maximizing harmonic reinforcement. Their vibrato cycles often synchronize naturally during crescendos, creating what physicists describe as standing wave behavior, stable resonance patterns similar to those found in architectural acoustics. Inside cathedrals, standing waves help sustain the fullness and warmth of sound throughout massive spaces. In Il Volo's harmonies, similar resonance effects create the illusion of enormous sonic depth even in digital recordings or modern arenas. The most fascinating aspect is how the brain responds to these patterns biologically. Humans are neurologically wired to seek equilibrium. Symmetry in visual environments reduces cognitive stress because balanced structures are easier for the brain to process. This principle applies not only to architecture but also to sound. Harmonic intervals based on stable mathematical ratios create lower perceptual tension, which the brain interprets as beauty, calmness, or emotional completeness. This means audiences are not simply enjoying music emotionally, they are responding neurologically to balance itself. Research into psychoacoustics suggests that harmonious frequency relationships can stimulate dopamine release, emotional reward systems, and physiological relaxation. When Il Volo reaches peak harmonic crescendos, listeners often experience chills, emotional tears, or sensations of transcendence. These reactions may emerge partly because the harmonies create temporary states of subconscious equilibrium inside the auditory cortex. In simpler terms, the brain experiences balance as pleasure. This also explains why Il Volo's music transcends cultural and linguistic boundaries so effectively. People who do not understand Italian still respond intensely to the emotional architecture of the sound itself. The brain recognizes symmetry before it recognizes language. This universality mirrors the experience of standing inside a great cathedral. A person does not need architectural expertise to feel awe beneath a perfectly proportioned dome. The body instinctively senses structural harmony. Il Volo's music appears to trigger a similar response acoustically. Even the trio's vocal anatomy contributes to this effect. Different vocal cavity shapes produce unique resonance characteristics. The chest resonance, nasal placement, breath control, and harmonic projection of each singer combine to form an unusually balanced collective spectrum. One voice provides warmth and grounding frequencies, another introduces brightness and emotional tension, while another stabilizes the harmonic center. Together, their voices behave less like individual performers and more like interconnected architectural components inside a larger acoustic structure. This may explain why their performances often feel larger than the sum of three singers. They are building invisible monuments of sound. Modern technology has only amplified this phenomenon further. High-definition audio engineering, spatial acoustics, cinematic mixing, and immersive arena sound systems allow these harmonic structures to expand globally across streaming platforms, concert arenas, and digital media. Yet despite modern production enhancements, the foundation of their appeal still rests upon ancient principles of mathematical proportion and human perception. In many ways, Il Volo represents a collision between Renaissance thinking and 21st century entertainment. Renaissance architects believed beauty emerged from mathematical order. Modern neuroscience increasingly suggests the same principle applies to music. Il Volo unconsciously bridges these worlds by transforming harmonic proportion into emotionally immersive global entertainment. This may also hint at the future of vocal performance itself. As artists increasingly study psychoacoustics, bioacoustic resonance, and neurological response patterns, future music may become even more intentionally designed around subconscious equilibrium. Performers may begin optimizing harmonies not only for emotional storytelling, but for biological resonance with the human nervous system. Il Volo already appears to operate inside this space naturally. Their music does not simply entertain, it organizes emotional space, and perhaps that is the true secret behind their global appeal. In a chaotic digital world filled with noise, fragmentation, and overstimulation, audiences crave experiences that restore internal balance. Il Volo's harmonies provide temporary architectural order for the mind itself, not through words, but through resonance.